We begin our pure training build examples with Sorcerers. Most pure classes will not train a standard weapon skill, instead focusing on magic ranks. If you hold a runestaff in the right hand, any magic skills, spells, and lore ranks you have are used to grant you extra defense and the ability to parry. You are looking for at least 8 magic ranks times your level spread out across all your applicable abilities. Regardless of training point cost, all magic ranks have the same weight effect, so focus on training the cheapest ones to get more value for your training points. At the lower levels, you'll be focusing on several core staples of a sorcerer. Over time, you'll have more points to branch out if you so choose. As with all of these training build examples, your individual path may vary. This is just one example of many. At level 1, you can't afford armor use, but the good news is you don't really need it yet either. Physical fitness will be at 3 ranks for increased health points. As predicted, magic skills are the most important here. Arcane symbols and magic item use are cheap. They allow the use of scrolls and wands respectively, so they get 3 ranks each. Harness power is at 3 ranks. Late game, you'll want as much harness power as you can get for maximum mana. Spell aiming is maxed at 6 ranks. This is useful for a few different skills in the Sorcerer arsenal. Both Mana Control Elemental and Mana Control Spiritual sit at 3 ranks each. Train 1 rank in Minor Elemental, Minor Spiritual, and the Sorcerer-based spells. Lores are very specific, and sorcerers can benefit from some of them early in their training path. Be sure to do additional wiki reading for each lore and spell to become more familiar. 1 rank of Necromancy lore allows you to restore health to yourself from living creatures using the MudVerse spell. I put 2 ranks in this for now. We want to get up to 20 ranks to use an evoked spell aim version of 705 Disintegrate. Over in general skills, we train 3 ranks in Climb, Swim, and Perception. Moving on up to level 10, somewhere along the way we allocated 2 ranks to Armor Use. If you plan to use full leather as your armor, you won't need to train Armor Use anymore. 2 is sufficient to offset the action penalty. I like to train up to use double leather on a sorcerer, and I'll cover why and what skills are needed in just a moment. Physical fitness is maxed at 12 ranks. For all things magic, we have 12 ranks in arcane symbols, MIU, and harness power. Spell aiming is maxed at 24 ranks. Both mana controls see 12 ranks each. For spells, we're up to 10 ranks in Minor Elemental. This gives us E-Wave. 3 ranks go into Minor Spiritual, while 10 ranks are placed into the Sorcerer base. We've trimmed point allocation to allow us to get 20 ranks in Necromancy lore at level 10. This now unlocks your 705 Disintegrate spell to be evoked, which can be more effective, especially if following an E-Wave or Grasp of the Grave 709 cast. General skills have 5 ranks in Climb, Swim, and Perception. As with all the other guides, we're setting this character's stats for growth as a human. Now that we're 19, we circle back to that Armor Use skill. The more complex armors, like Scale, Chain, and Full Plate, add a lot more protection in terms of how less severe an injury can be under certain attacks. Higher armor types can add massive cast penalties to pure classes though. I personally take my Sorcerer up to double leather, which requires 6 armor ranks to offset the action penalty, while adding a small chance for one of my Sorcerer base spells to fizzle on cast attempt. You suffer no penalties to Minor Elemental or Minor Spiritual while in doubles. Full leather has no cast penalty for a Sorcerer, but for the extra layer of protection, I accept the chance for a small penalty when using doubles. The skill choice is really up to you. Physical fitness is once again maxed at 21. Many years ago, I would get this skill up to around 25 ranks to ensure I had the most of the maximum health points I could possibly get for my class and race. Nowadays, this skill is super useful in many different game elements, so how far you train it will be up to you. Many players suggest to 1x per level if you have the points to do so. You could always pause training this skill to focus on something else and circle back down the road. Our final set of magic skills will have 21 ranks in arcane symbols, magic item use, and harness power, while our spell aim is capped at 42 ranks. Mana control elemental and spiritual both sit at 21 ranks too. Down in spell research, the minor elemental circle has 14 ranks. This allows you to cast the full set of elemental defense spells offered from that circle on yourself or others. Minor spiritual is at 11 ranks, so you have access to firework flares and the ability to roast your opponents who might be susceptible to fire. The Sorcerer base has 20 ranks. You are unable to cast the 20th level spell until you reach that level, but your first implosion is usually special, so knowing the spell lets you use it immediately if you happen to title in the heat of battle. Necromancy lore has to be minimum 20 to use the Disintegrate Bolt. Training further is up to you. There were no points to spare in this example build. The points I did have left over went to 10 ranks of Climb and Swim, with 8 ranks in Perception. You'll most likely want to get Perception up to 10, and at some point down the road, try to get these 3 up to 20 or 25 at least. I'll put some extra wiki links in the description with more information on some topics discussed in this video. This build focused a lot around spell aiming and the Necromancy lore. Your spells 705, 708, 710, 713, and of course 720 Implosion all take spell aiming into account. You could consider skipping spell aim for higher casting strength by overtraining a bit in the Sorcerer base, which could impact your other spell circle ranks too. The more you play, the more points you'll have to spend. I discovered the joys of a pure CS build as an empath in the late 70s bracket. Depending on how min-max you get, it could be a severe penalty to several other skills, but the absolute devastation you unleash by overwhelming your opponent's TD for 2 to 5 mana is quite exhilarating. End of the day, between 1 and 19, tweak your builds as you like. Find the skills that you're most interested in and focus on them. You'll have everything eventually, and the order you achieve each goal is really up to you. 1 down and 3 to go. Find out which one next time in this training build example series.